There is this very specific, universally understood moment of panic in human relationships, right? It happens first thing in the morning.
Oh, I think I know exactly where this is going.
Right, so you wake up, you're feeling affectionate, you roll over to give your partner a nice romantic morning kiss, and, well, before you can even get close, you realize your mouth tastes like, I don't know, a rusty penny wrapped in an old sock.
Yeah, that is a very vivid description, but totally accurate.
And your partner, they just subtly pull the duvet up over their nose, and boom, the moment is entirely dead. You have officially unleashed the dreaded morning breath.
It is a truly humbling experience, and honestly, it's something literally everyone deals with, but it's the immediate aftermath of that moment, what we do next to try and fix it, that I actually find incredibly fascinating from a biological perspective.
Because instinct takes over. I mean, if you are anything like me, or really anyone listening to this deep dive right now, your immediate reaction is to roll out of bed and sprint to the bathroom.
Right, straight for the medicine cabinet.
Exactly. And you reach straight for that giant neon-colored bottle of heavy-duty mouthwash. The one with a bold label promising to kill 99.9% of bacteria.
The ones that look like a industrial window cleaner.
Yes. And you take this massive swig, and you endure this intense, tear-inducing chemical burn. Because, we've been taught that the burning sensation means it's working, right? It feels like you are taking a power washer to your gums.
We really have. We've been conditioned to treat oral hygiene as this, search and destroy mission.
Totally.
We view our mouths as these hostile battlegrounds that just need to be completely sterilized. But that scorched earth chemical policy, that is precisely why so many people end up with a mouth that smells, volatile again just a few hours later.
Wait, let me stop you right there.
Okay.
Because you're challenging the entire foundation of my morning routine.
I know, it's a tough pill to swallow.
Are you seriously telling me that trying to aggressively clean my mouth is what's actually making the problem worse?
I am, yeah. And that is exactly the mission of our deep dive today. We are going to explore this massive, completely counterintuitive paradigm shift in modern science, which is oral probiotics.
Okay, color me intrigued.
Right, so we need to unpack the biological mechanics of why your daily chemical-heavy mouthwash routine is likely backfiring on you. And more importantly, we're going to look at how actively cultivating bacteria rather than trying to destroy it all is the actual scientifically backed secret to a permanently fresh mouth and healthy gums.
Cultivating bacteria. In my mouth. That sounds incredibly counterintuitive. It almost sounds like a typo, honestly.
I get that a lot.
Because when I hear the word probiotics, my mind instantly goes straight to the gut. You eat a questionable burrito, your stomach does backflips, and you drink some kombucha to fix your digestion.
Right, the classic gut health association.
Are we really talking about deliberately putting bacteria into our mouths on purpose?
We absolutely are. And everyone focuses so heavily on the gut microbiome, which totally makes sense because it dictates so much of our overall health. But what often gets overlooked is that the oral cavity is actually the second largest and most complex microbial community in the entire human body.
Wait, really? The second largest?
Yep. Just to put it in perspective for you, your mouth hosts over 700 different species of bacteria. It is a wildly dense, super competitive ecosystem.
700 distinct species. Okay, so my mouth isn't just some quiet little suburban neighborhood. It's like a massive, bustling metropolis.
It's basically Times Square at rush hour, yeah.
But if it's that crowded, how do we differentiate between the helpful inhabitants and the ones causing the morning breath? I assume we're dealing with, good guys and bad guys here.
That is a very helpful starting point. But as we get into the hard science, it's a bit more accurate to think of them as beneficial flora versus opportunistic pathogen.
Okay, beneficial flora.
Right, so in a healthy mouth, you have a delicate balance of power. We call this oral microbiota homeostasis. The beneficial flora are your native peacekeepers.
So they're the good guys.
Exactly. They serve incredibly vital functions. They condition your delicate gum tissue, they help break down food proteins, and they essentially maintain the local environment. By doing their jobs, they naturally keep your breath fresh.
So they are basically the maintenance crew for this city. What about the opportunistic pathogens, then?
Well, the pathogens are the problematic neighbors. They are always present in small numbers, but they are highly opportunistic, like the name implies.
Meaning they wait for the right moment to strike.
Exactly. They thrive when the environment tilts in their favor. For example, when you consume a lot of sugar, experience high stress, or simply go to sleep.
Just going to sleep causes a problem.
Yeah, because when you sleep, your saliva production drops significantly, causing dry mouth. And without saliva washing things away, these pathogens multiply rapidly.
Oh, I see.
They feast on the microscopic food proteins that are wedged between your teeth. And as they metabolize those proteins, they excrete volatile sulfur compounds, or VSEs.
Volatile sulfur compounds. I mean, that sounds like an industrial byproduct. What does a VSE actually consist of?
Well, chemically speaking, it's hydrogen sulfide and methyl mercaptan.
Okay, you lost me there.
Fair enough. Practically speaking, it smells identical to rotting eggs or decomposing cabbage.
Oh, wow. Gross.
Yeah, so when you experience severe morning breath, you are quite literally smelling the gaseous waste products of opportunistic pathogens that have been feasting and multiplying in your mouth all night.
Okay, that is an incredibly vivid and slightly horrifying biological reality. But this brings me right back to my original defense of the neon mouthwash, right?
I figured we'd circle back to that.
I mean, if I have a massive population of pathogens producing rotting cabbage gas, why wouldn't I want to drop a chemical nuke on the whole system? Doesn't the mouthwash wipe them out?
It does wipe them out, but here is the critical flaw in that strategy, and it all comes down to basic ecology.
Okay, explain that to me.
Harsh chemical mouthwashes, especially the ones with high alcohol content, they do not discriminate. They wipe out the pathogens, yes, but they also completely decimate the beneficial flora, your peacekeepers. They leave behind a totally barren microbial wasteland.
I hear what you're saying, but if the wasteland is completely empty, shouldn't my breath just smell like artificial mint all day? I mean, why does the bad breath come back even worse?
Because of the specific nature of those pathogens, many of the bacteria responsible for those VSEs are anaerobic, meaning they do not need oxygen to survive.
Right.
In fact, they prefer low oxygen environments, so they hide deep inside the microscopic crevices of your gums, far below the gum line where the mouthwash might not even fully penetrate.
Ah, so the mouthwash is really only hitting the surface layer of the city.
Precisely. And furthermore, these pathogens have significantly faster reproductive life cycles than the slow-growing beneficial flora.
So they bounce back faster.
Much faster. And to make matters worse, alcohol-based mouthwashes severely dry out your mouth. Saliva is naturally oxygenated and antibacterial.
Oh, so by drying out my mouth.
You've accidentally created the perfect, low-oxygen, undefended breeding ground. The pathogens that survived in those deep crevices rush back into this empty territory and multiply exponentially.
Because there's no beneficial flora left to compete with them.
Exactly. You've cleared the field for the worst inhabitants to take total control of the neighborhood.
That is wildly frustrating. So by trying to sterilize the environment, I'm actually funding the expansion of the pathogens.
Unintentionally, yes.
I'm destroying the natural infrastructure that was keeping them in check. And I imagine bad breath isn't the only problem here, right?
Not at all.
If these pathogens are dominating the environment every single day, they aren't just producing gas. They must be interacting with the teeth and gums.
Bad breath is really just the alarm bell. The true escalation happens on a structural level. If we follow the chain of events, it leads directly to the gum line.
Which brings up a very common, yet rarely discussed issue. You decide to be a responsible adult, you pull out the dental floss, you do your routine, and suddenly you look down in the bathroom sink, looks like a Hollywood crime scene.
Yes, the classic bleeding gums.
You feel this weird mix of guilt and alarm. Is that bleeding a direct result of these pathogens taking over?
It is the direct biological consequence, yes. That bleeding is a very early, very clear sign of gingivitis, which is gum inflammation.
Okay, so how exactly does that happen?
Let's look at the mechanism. When opportunistic pathogens are allowed to run rampant, they don't just float aimlessly in your saliva, they seek out real estate.
Right.
They settle along the gum line and begin to excrete this sticky, protective matrix. This forms a complex bacterial city called a biofilm.
And in everyday terms, we just call that biofilm plaque.
Yes. Dental plaque is a living biofilm. It's literally a physical fortress that protects the bacteria from external threats.
I've always thought of plaque as just, leftover food that gets stuck to my teeth.
A lot of people think that.
But you're saying it's essentially illegal real estate. These bacterial squatters are literally building unauthorized, fortified structures on the private property of my gums.
That is a remarkably accurate analogy. I love that. And your body's immune system recognizes those unauthorized structures as a severe threat.
So it fights back.
It does. When your immune system detects this pathogenic biofilm encroaching on the gum tissue, it triggers an intense inflammatory response. It sends a massive rush of blood to the area, loaded with immune cells like macrophages and cytokines, to try and fight off the invaders.
So the gums aren't just naturally sensitive. The tissue is literally swelling and engorging with blood, preparing for a microscopic war.
That's the exact mechanism. The tissue becomes incredibly swollen, fragile, and packed with extra blood volume.
Okay, that makes sense.
So because it's so compromised, the second you drag a piece of floss or like a stiff toothbrush, bristle across it, the tissue tears and bleeds instantly.
Okay, but if I just power through the bleeding and aggressively scrape all that plaque off every single day, doesn't that solve the problem? Like, why do I need to introduce a probiotic into the mix?
Well, mechanical cleaning, brushing and flossing is absolutely essential to disrupt the biofilm. But if you only scrape it away, you still have the underlying ecological imbalance.
The pathogens are still there.
Right. They will just rebuild the fortress the very next day. And if you ignore it entirely, that sticky plaque absorbs minerals from your saliva and calcifies.
Calcifies into what?
It hardens into tartar, which is essentially bacterial concrete. You cannot brush tartar away.
Oh, wow. Bacterial concrete?
Yeah. And once that happens, the inflammation drives deeper, leading to full-blown periodontal disease, bone loss, and eventually tooth loss.
The stakes are incredibly high here. We can't use chemical mouthwash because the pathogens bounce back stronger and faster, but we also can't just rely on scraping because they rebuild overnight.
Exactly.
This seems like an unwinnable cycle.
It is unwinnable if you rely solely on mechanical and chemical destruction. And this is where the biological paradigm shift occurs. Instead of chemical warfare, we introduce targeted biological competition.
Okay, I want to push back here on behalf of the listener because, the wellness industry is flooded with wild claims.
Oh, absolutely.
Every week, there's a new supplement promising to fix all your ailments. So is cultivating oral bacteria actual rigorous science? Or is this just a clever marketing narrative cooked up by supplement companies trying to sell me $30 breath mints?
It's a completely valid skepticism. I mean, you should question these things. But we are looking at hard science backed by rigorous clinical data here.
Real data?
Yes. We are moving past wellness blogs and looking at studies published in top-tier, peer-reviewed international medical journals.
Okay, hit me with an example.
For instance, the Journal of Clinical Periodontology ran a highly controlled, comprehensive study specifically on patients dealing with chronic gingivitis.
Okay, the Journal of Clinical Periodontology, what was the methodology there?
It was the gold standard, a randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled trial.
Meaning nobody knew who was getting the real thing.
Exactly. This means neither the patients nor the evaluating dentists knew who was receiving the active treatment, which completely removes observational bias.
Perfect.
They took dozens of patients and split them into two groups. One group was given a daily lozenge containing a very specific, carefully isolated bacterial strain called Lactobacillus reuteri.
Lactobacillus reuteri, got it.
And the other group received an identical placebo lozenge with no active bacteria whatsoever.
So what happened over the course of the trial? Did the probiotic group's gums just magically stop bleeding?
The results were statistically overwhelming. The researchers tracked two primary metrics. First, the plaque index, which basically measures the volume of that illegal real estate being built.
Right.
And second, the gingival bleeding index, which measures the inflammation and bleeding response we discussed.
And the results?
After the trial period, the group taking the Lactobacillus reuteri saw a massive, statistically significant drop in both of those metrics compared to the placebo group.
Wow. How exactly does that work biologically? What makes Lactobacillus reuteri so special? Does it just, physically eat the plaque?
Not quite. It works through two distinct mechanisms. The first is competitive exclusion.
Competitive exclusion.
Right, so the beneficial bacteria move in and aggressively outcompete the pathogens for limited resources. They steal their food supply and physically occupy the binding sites on the teeth and gums.
So if the good flora take up all the space, the pathogens literally have nowhere to anchor their biofilm.
Exactly. It's a real estate takeover. They just price the pathogens right out of the neighborhood.
I love that.
But the second mechanism is even more fascinating. The study highlighted how these specific probiotic strains actively inhibit a notorious pathogen called Streptococcus mutans.
Streptococcus mutans, who is that guy?
That is a primary culprit behind both cavities and severe gum inflammation. The beneficial bacteria don't just take up space. They synthesize and secrete targeted proteins called bacteriocins.
Bacteriocins, what do those do?
Think of them as natural, highly targeted antibiotics produced by the bacteria themselves.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they neutralize competitors like Streptococcus mutans without harming the rest of the healthy ecosystem.
That is wild. So they aren't just occupying space. They are actively raiding the pathogen's headquarters and shutting down their operations.
Precisely.
That logically connects back to the breath issue we started with, actually. If these beneficial bacteria are stopping the pathogens from building plaque, does that also shut down the production of those volatile sulfur compounds?
It absolutely does, and the clinical data supports this beautifully too. There was a major study published in the European Journal of Oral Sciences that focused specifically on severe chronic halitosis.
Chronic bad breath.
Yes! These were participants for whom bad breath was a persistent medical reality driven by incredibly high concentrations of those VSCs.
The rotting cabbage gases.
Correct. The researchers had these subjects use oral probiotics featuring a different beneficial strain called Streptococcus salivarius.
Okay, Streptococcus salivarius.
And the intervention was remarkably brief, just 1 to 2 weeks.
1 to 2 weeks. That seems like a very short window for a chronic condition. What were the findings?
The measurable concentrations of VSCs in the subject's breath plummeted. Furthermore, up to 85% of the participants reported a massive, noticeable improvement in their breath.
85%. That is a massive success rate in clinical research.
It really is.
But I have to ask, is this just masking the smell? Is it essentially just a fancy biological breath mint?
Not at all. A mint simply covers the sulfur gas with a stronger scent, which is why it fades so quickly. The oral probiotics actually replaced the microbial workforce.
Oh, I see.
They evicted the pathogens manufacturing the sulfur gas and replace them with beneficial flora that simply do not produce those odorous byproducts. You aren't masking the symptom, you are literally dismantling the factory.
That is incredible.
However, it's worth noting a limitation here. It requires maintenance.
Right. There's always a catch.
If you stop the probiotics and go back to a high-sugar diet and chugging alcohol mouthwash, the ecosystem will eventually revert.
That makes sense. It's a living garden, not a one-time surgical fix.
Exactly.
Okay, I am completely sold on the biological mechanics, but we need to pivot to practical application now. Because if a listener wants to deploy this strategy, they need a clear buyer's guide.
Definitely.
I want to dissect some of the wilder marketing claims floating around out there.
That is crucial because navigating the supplement market really requires understanding exactly what you are purchasing.
Let's start with aesthetics. I've seen oral probiotic advertisements claiming they can, quote, gently whiten teeth. Now, come on. Is there any biological basis for that, or is that just pure vanity marketing?
It does have a biological basis, actually, but expectations must be managed. It is not going to chemically bleach your teeth to a blinding artificial white.
Right, you aren't going to get those glow-in-the-dark Hollywood veneers from a probiotic.
Exactly. The whitening mechanism here is entirely indirect. Remember how plaque is a sticky structural matrix built by pathogens?
Yeah, the illegal real estate.
Right. Well, that biofilm is naturally yellowish, and its porous texture easily absorbs dark tannins from coffee, tea, and red wine. Because oral probiotics actively inhibit the pathogens, you get significantly less plaque buildup. Less plaque means you don't have that yellowish, stain-absorbing film covering your enamel.
Okay, that makes sense.
And many high-quality probiotic formulas also include subtle, natural additives, like malic acid, which helps dissolve minor surface stains.
So to put it simply, it's like a car wash, not a new paint job.
Yeah.
It cleans the grime off so the natural shine of your enamel comes through.
That is the perfect way to describe it.
Okay, next practical question. I am a pragmatic person, and sometimes I look for shortcuts.
Uh-oh.
If I already have a very expensive, high-quality bottle of gut probiotics sitting in my refrigerator, can I just break one of those capsules open, mix the powder with water, and swish it around my teeth to save money? I mean, bacteria, right?
Yeah. Please do not do that.
No.
It will not work, and it fundamentally misunderstands how these organisms are engineered.
Why wouldn't it work?
To understand why, you have to look at the terminology on your gut probiotic bottle. You'll usually see the acronym CFU, which stands for colony-forming units.
Okay, CFUs.
It tells you how many billions of live cultures are in the pill. Gut probiotics are loaded with massive amounts of CFUs and encapsulated in thick, protective shells specifically designed to survive the incredibly harsh, highly acidic environment of your stomach acid.
Which is pretty intense, right?
Very. Stomach acid has a pH of around 2.0. They need to survive that acid bath just to reach your intestines.
So they are built for extreme survival.
Exactly. Your mouth, on the other hand, is a relatively neutral environment with a pH around 7.0. The bacterial strains native to your gut simply do not know how to colonize the oral cavity.
They're completely out of their element.
Putting a gut probiotic in your mouth is like dropping a deep-sea submarine into a kiddie pool.
That is a great visual.
It is an incredibly advanced tool, but it is in the completely wrong environment to function.
That makes perfect sense.
Right.
The gut bacteria are geared up for a deep-sea acid mission, not a casual hangout on the gums.
Right. For oral probiotics to be effective, they have to physically adhere to the proteins on your teeth and gums.
Okay.
That is why the protocol dictates you must use specific delivery systems like lozenges, chewable tablets, or melting powders.
So no swallowing pills.
You cannot just swallow them. You need to let them dissolve slowly in your mouth, swishing the saliva around, to give the beneficial flora time to seek out the microscopic crevices and anchor themselves.
Okay, let me challenge you on the mechanics of that, because earlier you mentioned that saliva is designed to wash things away.
Yes.
So if my mouth is constantly producing saliva and I'm swallowing all day, isn't introducing a probiotic lozenge just a massive waste of money? Won't it just swallow all those helpful bacteria immediately?
That is an excellent point, and it dictates exactly when you should take them.
Okay, when is that?
If you take an oral probiotic in the middle of the day while you are talking, eating, and producing high volumes of saliva, you will indeed swallow most of them before they can colonize.
Right.
That is why the absolute optimal time to deploy these probiotics is at night, right before you go to sleep.
Because the saliva production drops off.
Exactly. When you sleep, your salivary flow decreases dramatically, your mouth becomes still. By taking the lozenge right before bed, you give the beneficial bacteria a golden window of uninterrupted time.
Oh, wow.
Without a flood of saliva washing them down your throat, they have 6 to 8 hours to aggressively multiply, secrete their bacteriocins, and build their defensive perimeters.
That is brilliant timing.
Yeah.
But let's clarify the prerequisite here. I assume I can't just, eat a chocolate chip cookie, pop a probiotic lozenge, and go to bed.
Definitely not. The lozenge must be taken immediately after you have thoroughly brushed and flossed your teeth.
So I can't throw away my dental floss just yet.
No, definitely don't do that. Oral probiotics are a defensive reinforcement. They are not a cheat code to bypass basic hygiene.
Got it.
Think of the pathogen's biofilm like an established enemy fortress. If you do not mechanically brush and floss away the bulk of that fortress first, you are sending your newly introduced beneficial bacteria into an unwinnable battle.
Because the bad guys are already entrenched.
Right. They will just become cannon fodder against a fully entrenched enemy. You have to physically clear the battlefield with your toothbrush and floss, and then deploy the probiotics to hold the newly cleaned territory.
Before we wrap this up, we should probably weave in a quick reality check for everyone listening. Because as fascinating as this clinical research is, we aren't prescribing medical treatments today.
Absolutely. This deep dive is purely educational, exploring the latest shifts in microbiome science.
Right.
If you are listening and you are dealing with painful, severe gum disease, or if you have persistent bleeding that does not resolve, you cannot just buy a lozenge and hope for a miracle. You need to be evaluated by a licensed dentist or healthcare provider.
100%.
Probiotics are a highly effective preventative and maintenance tool, but they do not replace professional medical intervention for active, advanced periodontal disease.
A vital disclaimer. So what does this ultimately mean for us? For the people who just want to wake up, lean over, and say good morning without their partner flinching?
I think it's a game changer.
I think the big takeaway here is a profound paradigm shift in how we view our bodies. Taking care of your microscopic native neighbors is quite literally the secret to taking care of your social confidence and your long-term health.
It really is.
We have to stop viewing our mouths as battlegrounds that require daily chemical sterilization. We need to start treating them like complex living gardens that require careful cultivation.
I couldn't agree more. Cultivation over eradication.
Yeah.
When you provide the right tools to work with your body's natural ecosystem, rather than fighting against it with harsh chemicals, the results are exponentially better and much more sustainable.
It really makes you pause and think, you know?
Huh.
Well, if our mouths require this carefully balanced living ecosystem to actually thrive and stay healthy, what other modern hygiene habits might we need to reconsider?
Oh, that's a fascinating question.
Right. Think about the heavily marketed antibacterial body washes or the hand sanitizers we use constantly that promise to kill 99.9% of germs. Are we blindly wiping out the natural protective defenses on the rest of our bodies too?
It's a very real possibility.
It's definitely something to ponder while you let that probiotic lozenge melt tonight.